Oh, hey there guys, welcome to my channel, and today we're trying out the new update for Microsoft Flight Simulator, the Game of the Year update, which apparently brings a lot of new features, namely a new airplane, a jet, the F-16, and it brings DX12, which is the most important feature of the update, I would say. But for this first video, we're going to be testing DX11, which is the base. I'm going to be going through the graphics settings as per usual, and then we're going to hop into short helicopter flight for this time around, so that we can measure performance and see whether it's more stable than before or if there is any sort of frame stuttering, you know, the usual stuff, which we always do with Microsoft Flight Simulator. So first and foremost, let's check the settings. So let's head over to the general options. And as you can see here, we're running the DX11, still ultra settings locked to 30 FPS for that very stable, very crisp performance. It's the sweet spot for Flight Simulator from what I've noticed. Like if you lock it at 30 FPS, it's going to be 30 across the board. Generally speaking, that was before the Game of the Year update. I'm not sure how it is now, but I've tested it just a tiny bit yesterday night out of Reno in California, and it was great. It was actually very nice. More than I expected it to be, actually, because I heard it was a little stuttery, but I haven't noticed that myself. But as you can see here, other than the pre-caching, everything else is maxed out as per default. So that's other than motion blur, which I don't quite like. So I switched that off for, in this case, medium instead of like maxed out. But so that's about it for now. Settings wise, we're running 1080p, 100% scaling, so no Quad HD anymore. Because I remember, like last time, I was running Quad HD on top of 1080p, so higher rendering resolution. But performance was suffering, so I scaled back to 1080p without much of a visual penalty. I gotta say, it's very nice. But anyway, let's get back. The HUD is as clunky as it has always been, which I kind of hate, but it's part of the game, I think. You know, you can't win it all. They brought the performance update, which was amazing, but there's a price to pay for that, and the price was the new HUD. But so here's MSI Afterburner with the temperatures, with the CPU usage, the RAM usage, which as you can see is pretty high. I mean, they said they scaled back on the RAM usage, and it's back to the usual, like pre-update 5, which was that major update that brought the performance jump, and also the downgrading on the LD, which apparently they fixed, which is a good thing, but RAM usage is pretty high, as you can see. But then again, we were flying out of Renton today, which is near Seattle, if you're not familiar. And it's a very demanding area of the game, like very demanding, because it has photogrammetry. It is like one of their focus areas, because obviously it's where Microsoft is from. They're from Washington, the state. So it has a lot more love than the rest of the world, the game world. Other than France, of course, because of Zobo. But anyway, let's take off. Increase the power a little bit. Disclaimer, I'm not really sure if I'm doing the right thing. I don't know how to fly helicopters. It's like the first time. Not the first time. I'm like not a heli pilot. That's what I'm trying to say here. So if I do crash, if I do make an oopsie, please take it easy, because I'm a first timer. I'm still kind of getting used to it. As you can see, photogrammetry is working. You can tell by that thing down there. I think it's a U-Haul. Yeah, it's a U-Haul office thing. There's a bunch of U-Haul vans. I wish I could drive them instead of the helicopter. But as you can see, it looks great on ultra settings. Still, I would say perhaps the building quality took a penalty from. If you're flying low and slow, you can clearly notice it has been downgraded ever so slightly. So I remember like clearly flying around this area when the game came out, and it was like much better. But obviously, the same as this claim is true, like that it was objectively better visually. It doesn't mean that it was better as in, you know, that it actually run well as well, because it did not. It was a stuttering mess. And this time we have solid 30 FPS while recording, which I consider as a win. And once you get higher up like this, we are 1,000 feet now. Actually not really 1,000 feet, because I assume Renton is quite elevated. But the point is, the higher you get, the more natural it looks, and then it doesn't really look outdated anymore. It doesn't really look ugly as you get higher up, and that's the big advantage of Microsoft Flight Simulator, because once you get higher up, the photogrammetry just shines and it looks as good as it can possibly look. It's amazing. Look at that. Just look at that. There's like no competition on that regard. Like visually, Microsoft Flight Sim is still king, even with all the downgrades, even with all the features that were cut back and the clunky UI and all the things that could have been, you know, fixed and were not. But still, you know, it's a very beautiful game. I mean, look at that. Look as far as down there somewhere. I assume that would be like nearing the border already with Canada. Maybe I'm even looking at the wrong direction, but I do think that's kind of, you know, it's up there somewhere. But anyway, let's fly towards the city and see how the frames behave. Because, you know, photogrammetry is very intensive. It gets even more intensive as the night falls into us, because it's like 4 something p.m., maybe 5. So it's about to darken up a little bit, and once it darkens up, it might get more demanding or not. Let's see how that goes and how the night lighting also looks. The clouds are much better than before, I gotta say. Before Update 5, the update revamped performance, and they also got like better clouds ever so slightly at a cost. The LOD was awful for terrain. Now it's better. I'm gonna get lower because I want to see more of the city and the photogrammetry and all this stuff. But yeah, so far I'm very happy with the performance. As you can see, it's using 69%. So let's say if it were not locked at 30 FPS, maybe like a good 40 FPS, 45-ish, which for ultra settings, 1080p, I mean, it's good enough, I guess. Could have been better, but hey, it's very demanding. We cannot forget that. I mean, it's photogrammetry after all. It's a lot to ask for a machine. Off the machine, I mean, and look at that. And yeah, the ground texture is kind of blurry and stuff, but hey, nothing beats photogrammetry, honestly. Like, I love it. As you can see, it really is getting darker, and I'm overspeeding. That's not nice. Let's lower the power a little bit. We're gonna go through the city itself. See how the frames behave. Like the downtown, I mean, we are going through the city. I'm gonna head downtown, where there are plenty of buildings and office complexes and stuff, which should make my day harder as far as frames go. Make not my day specifically, my card's day harder in that sense. But yeah, look at the night lighting though. It's looking so much better than early flight sim. Look at that. It's convincing. It's good enough. Oh, look at that. Is that a train station? Yeah, it does look like a train station. Let's follow it. Let's follow the choo-choo station towards downtown. There's a plane. Look. And the frames are already suffering, as you can tell. As we approach downtown, as I've expected, we have our minimum so far, which is 26 FPS, which is not bad by any means. I mean, Flight Simulator, if you're still yielding more than 20 FPS, it's good enough. So that's a great number. It's satisfying. And as you can tell, Butter is smooth now, 30 FPS, no complaints. Like, what can I complain about? It's working flawlessly. And I'm gonna switch cameras as well, as we're gonna see how the performance changes. Oh, never mind. I just remembered I don't have my controller plugged in. I was trying NVIDIA Shield earlier today. And I took my controller to the living room and forgot to take it back, so yeah, that won't happen. But perhaps, I mean, I can switch cameras, but I won't be able to kind of move around, you know what I mean? It's just gonna be like this. Not very cash money, I guess. So 27 FPS, yeah, it's dropping a little bit as we get into the heart of the city, but it's still magnificent. Look at that. Just look at that. It's looking great. I mean, you can tell it's not as detailed as before, photogrammetry, all the buildings, but my god. I mean, if you're at a reasonable speed, like the speed we're going at right now, you cannot really tell. I mean, you gotta really pay attention to see the cardboard effect. I mean, if you concentrate way too much, you can tell. Like, some of the buildings look very cardboardy, but some of them don't. It's a trade-off, I guess. Like the small ones, the less important ones, I would assume they look a little bit like cardboard, but the rest of them don't quite look like cardboard, so that's a plus. And performance is as great as it could be. I mean, it's Seattle. We're flying over Seattle, maxed out. I mean, not really maxed out per se. It's 100% scaling. A couple things were cut back on, and LOD also not fully maxed out. It's not 200%, but hey, look at that. We're using 30 FPS, and we have a margin because it's using 81%. So there's 20% GPU power that we could have been working with unlocked frame rate, which would also induce a lot of stuttering. So ideally for flight sim, if you can get stable 60, go for the stable 60. If you cannot go for 60, go for half, which is what most people do, because 60 is really challenging at any res. It doesn't matter if it's Full HD, if it's 4K, Quad HD, it is hard. It really demands from your machine. So that's a great compromise between, you know, the craze that 60 offers, and 30 is good enough. I mean, we're flying helicopters, we're flying airplanes. It doesn't really need that speedy, fast reaction time. You're not playing a first-person shooter, so it doesn't really, you know, affect anything. If anything, makes things better. It's easier to land with half the frame rate. Honestly, truth be told, it's the sweet spot for landing. Mainly airliners, because they really rely on that reaction time. So you cut back on that, you know, by half. Basically, you don't have to react as fast. That's the point. Yep, we had a little bit of a drop there, but then again, bear in mind I'm recording, and that does spot a load. So recording is an enemy here. Shadowplay does impact performance, even though it's not a massive hit. It does hit performance. No such thing as screen recorder that doesn't hit performance, other than NDI perhaps, because you're sending the signal over to other machine, and then that other machine does the encoding. But if there's any encoding to be done from the same machine, it's going to hit performance no matter what, and that's the case here. It's visibly impacting performance. So perhaps without recording, it would be 30 all across the board all the time, no problem, no stuttering. Look, it's Space Needle looking great, huh? Hello. I'm probably not allowed to fly around here this slow, but let's just pretend that it's completely fine. And the night's falling. It's looking a little weird. I mean, water's the wee bit glitchy, as you can tell, but it's nothing major. Oh my god, I almost hit the building. That's not good. It's not good. That was close. Do not look at water when you're flying a helicopter. Do not. Yeah, that reflection over there is also looking a little wonky. But, I mean, you know, it cannot be perfect, can it? And honestly, performance is just wonderful. Very satisfied. I think it's the first time that I record a benchmark without any major performance impact. Because, like, I did record one that I didn't even publish because the performance was so bad. It was so bad. Not only the performance, obviously, I mean, it still reflects reality, so it's not like, hey, it's not my fault. You know, I didn't publish it because I was flying the 172. The landing was awful. The approach was kind of like lazy. If there's any better way to put it, I would say that I was just straight up lazy, and I screwed up the final approach. It was awful. I was ashamed, so I just decided not to publish it. Even though I did upload it to YouTube, I just didn't make it public because it felt like, yeah, this is not a content I want my people to see because it sucks. It just straight up isn't very cash money. Oh, look at that! Someone's final. No, it's not final. It's just overflying the airport. This is Star got his landing gear down. Yeah, there's the airport. Let's land. Ooh, nice train station. Is that a train station? Yeah. Reminds me of St. Petersburg. Partially. St. Petersburg is kind of wider, I guess. Yeah, photogrammetry is such a game changer. Even more so now that they got like proper night lighting that doesn't look as artificial as before. So it really helps a lot with the immersion. I was avoiding flying at night because it was a little weird, and now it looks great again, so that's a plus, I guess. And now I think we've seen enough. I mean, we've flown over downtown, we've flown near the Space Needle, we've seen how the performance fluctuates. It's not a lot. I mean, it's a massive city, photogrammetry city, which is very, very demanding, more than anything else. And Seattle is like their premium kind of photogrammetry city, like where they put a lot of hard work to deliver that crisp visual that we all appreciate. And it's running, it's blasting through it, no problem. It's no biggie. It just does it. It doesn't care. It runs wonderfully well, a lot better than ever. You know, it's update 5, for instance. Like, this would not happen. Ultra settings with this good of performance, no way. Simply wouldn't happen. And now it does happen, and it's a reality. I can finally explore the cities I've always wanted to explore, like, properly with decent performance and decent visuals without making any sort of compromises. Compromising anything here, not anything major. Because I said my LOG is not maxed out. But it's just a tiny compromise compared to what I wouldn't have to compromise back in the day. So let's head back to the airport. And this is going to be the tricky bit, because I know how to get up, but I don't know how to land the helicopter. So this is going to be weird. And if I do eventually make an oopsie, please bear in mind I'm not a heli pilot. I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. I don't know when I'm stressing the engine, if I'm not stressing the engine, what is the landing speed, the landing technique. I just kind of, I see my spot, I try to get to the spot, I lower my power, and I kind of, you know, try and keep the helicopter floating without, you know, floating and floating until it doesn't float anymore, and then that's my landing. It's not very gracious, but it worked, I guess. But anyway, yeah, let's get this thing down, shall we? Let me just make sure barrel pressure didn't change, which it did not. Slower power is then finally coming for the approach. Just oh my god, barely scraping the tree. Not how it should have been, but okay. Let's find a spot. Lead that speed. We cannot come in too fast. We cannot come in too high, because that wouldn't make sense. So let's gradually bleed that speed, making sure to not hit the building. So our port. Yeah, we're bleeding speed ever so gradually. 10 knots. Already gone. It's gonna be, as you can see, performance just straight up great. Now it's fully darkened up. Not really, but you know, all the night lights are on. It's looking great. Okay, yeah, that speed's going away. I'm losing it. Okie dokie. Careful with the light poles. Don't wanna. Okay. Let's see. A bit. Right. 60 knots. Okay, that's about time we start thinking of blending. Right? Okay, so we've lost nearly all the speed at this point. Gotta be careful with the private jet over there. We don't want to hit that $1 million flying thing. CRJ, I think. Oh yeah, 36. Okay, we're slow enough. Now we can start losing out ever so gradually. We don't want to lose all of it. We don't want extra energy. We want to keep it steady and calm. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just saying it as a way to kind of, you know, guide myself towards landing. Oh, we're falling, boys. Oh no. Okay, that's the landing, I think. A little rough, but hey, we made it. We made it down. Oh my god. Frames went down to 20 for a split second. But hey, okay. I think that's it for today's video. So that's Microsoft Flight Sim Game of the Year Edition update. DX11. Tomorrow, DX12. Same conditions. I'll try to replicate same conditions. Maybe a different airport, but same time of day, same helicopter, so that we can kind of quantify and compare GPU usage, that kind of stuff. See whether it has changed for the better or for worse, because I heard it's for worse, but I didn't confirm it yet. Didn't have time, so we're gonna confirm that together. As usual, feedback's much appreciated, so if you have any sort of input, oh my god, the frames, don't be shy. Comment down below. I read every comment. I promise I read every comment. And well, thank you guys for watching, and stay safe, and I see you guys in the next one, hopefully tomorrow, as aforementioned. Yeah, bye bye.